Hey, in this video I will cover Amazon product lab testing requirements. Okay, so in this video I will explain if testing is required for all products, for which products testing is required, and how you know which test that you actually need to submit your product to, and a few other things. So let's just get started. Now the big question is if lab testing is required for all products sold on Amazon. And the thing is that generally speaking, well, there are exemptions to this, okay, but generally, Amazon requires that you, as a seller, ensure that your products are compliant with the requirements, meaning safety standards, labeling, and also documentation requirements in the specific market where you're selling. Okay, so if you sell on Amazon in the US, this means that you need to comply with the regulations that apply to these products in the United States. Okay, you're selling children's products, you need to comply with CPSIA. Okay, you're selling electronics in the EU, you need a CE mark, you need a DOC, the technical file, and also the product must also be technically compliant. That said, though, they also have some categories, electronics in the United States, for example, where Amazon requires that you must provide lab test reports that are otherwise optional. Okay, this is the case for power banks and a range of other products. Okay. They require that you can show UL underwritten laboratories test reports showing compliance with certain UL standards, and you can find information about this in the Amazon Seller Central. So in a way, you can say that every product could be tested, but there are more strict documentation checks for, say, children's products, cosmetics, electronics, and so on. But Amazon is definitely getting stricter. So I would actually assume that they require testing for your product, although you can find specific requirements for the more, say, stricter categories in the Amazon Seller Central. Okay, so for which products is testing required? And as I said, this is not a definitive list, and it's definitely something that can and will change in the future. But actually, I should rephrase this: for which products are most strictly checked by Amazon, and that is toys, children's products, medical devices, obviously, cosmetics, and also power banks. And what I mean by that is that when you create a listing, you add a product, you start selling a product, they have a standardized document check, meaning that the compliance team will reach out and request compliance documents, which includes test reports. It may also include self-issued documents, and they may also want photocopies of labels, for example, or maybe even invoice. So they have different document requirements. But you could also add electronics and a range of other products. But let's say that it's less likely that you will get a document submission request if you're selling T-shirts, okay, or something like that, something that's generally considered to be more low risk. But I think well, not too far from now. Well, that depends on when you're watching this video, I guess. But I think we get to a point where it's actually like they will require some sort of compliance documents for everything. Okay, so this is not a definitive list, but check out the Seller Central. Okay, now how do you know which tests that you need for your product? Okay, and one way is to check the Amazon Seller Central. For example, for power banks, they actually list a specific UL standard that they require that the product is compliant with. Also for lithium batteries. The other way is to contact a testing company, which may be the only option for many of you, especially if you're a small business and you don't have an in-house compliance expert. What you do in that case is you reach out to a testing company like SGS or Intertek or Chima and say, okay, I got this product, I'm going to sell it in the United States. Can you give me a quotation? And that quotation will, or at least should, include a list of standards and tests that they include in the procedure. Okay, so that's another way to find out. Okay, so which testing companies are accepted by Amazon? Let's say that it depends. If you take something like CPSIA, which which it essentially sets safety requirements, labeling requirements, and documentation requirements for all children's products sold in the United States. They have a list of so-called CPSC accepted testing companies. This includes the big ones like, again, Intertek, SGS, Eurofins, I think, Chima is on the list, TUV, yeah, the big German company. So they are on that list, and Amazon does normally just, if that's what is required in the US, that's also what Amazon in turn will require from the sellers. Okay. Now I should actually point out that quite recently worked with this Australian importer, and they are planning to start selling in the United States. And then Amazon actually told them that the test has to take place in the United States. So I actually reached out to Chima and asked, okay, what is this? Like, is this some sort of like policy change? That would be pretty major. And I was actually told that they are familiar with these scenarios, these situations when someone in Amazon's support team actually claims that you need to get the test done in the United States, even though that's not correct. So my understanding is that basically they accept lab test reports that would be accepted by the government authorities. That's pretty much the way it works. Now keep in mind, this may change. If Amazon says in the future we're only going to accept test reports from these 2-3 companies, where many importers and also Chinese exporters and elsewhere in Asia go wrong is when you submit a bogus test report from some unknown. I'm not going to mention any, but there's been a lot in the news in 2020 due to the COVID situation about crap testing companies, and not really testing companies. They sell documents that look official, certificate of conformity, or maybe even detailed lab test reports. Those are the documents that may get the product rejected by Amazon. They are not stupid, okay? But it's unlikely that they will reject a test report that's issued by a well-known and established testing company. Yeah, I know. It's. I wish I could give straight answers to all these questions, but everything is more complicated. Now, how do you submit a test report to Amazon? Can be done through a normally. Okay, now I'm not an Amazon seller, but I have a lot of experience working with Amazon sellers, so I get reports every week. Okay, and according to them, they get a document submission request. This can happen when a product is listed, or it can come like weeks or months later. Okay, they can also do it for existing products. We also dealt with a company, I'm not going to mention which country, but yeah, somewhere around the Mediterranean, let's say that. And they had I think about 20 SKUs listed, children's products, and Amazon contacted them, I don't know, like a few years after they started selling, and did a document submission request. They on just one of those products. And it's interesting because they were all about the same age group, and also related. Like they were very similar products, like different variations, you can say. And I can't really say why. Why did they only ask for test reports for that one product, not all of them? But yeah, that's how you submit a test report. I believe this will be more and more standardized in the future. Okay, can you provide a test report from your supplier? That depends. When it comes to certain products, you need to have test reports issued in your company name. It can be accepted sometimes, but there's so much that can go wrong. One thing is, okay, you go to company A based in Dongguan, and you ask them, hey, do you have a test report? And assuming it's not a fake one, which is a big issue, the second most likely outcome is that they're going to send a test report from a different company. It could be a subcontractor, could be, or a different product. Okay, it's so rare that you can reach out to a manufacturer in, say, China or Vietnam, uh, and you will receive a test report where everything checks out, meaning, okay, it's the same supplier, meaning the supplier that you're actually paying. Yeah, Amazon actually do request invoices to see that, okay, can is this test report issued by the same company that actually received the payment? If not, then what the hell is the, like, what's the connection here, right? Um, so anyway, it's very rare that it really checks out in the sense that everything adds up, in the sense that, okay, it's the same company, it's the same product, and especially by a custom design product. You can't take a test report issued in 2015 and say, yeah, okay, I made my product in 2020. It doesn't prove shit. It doesn't prove anything, obviously. So it's really rare that everything adds up in that sense. So, yeah, in theory, sometimes you could submit that test report, but it's just very, very rare that it actually works out. Anyway, that's it for this video. So you can also try out the free compliance information software on compliancegate.com/free.